What is up, my fellow Fable finders? It's Ari. And today is a video that I probably should have done a little bit earlier. I've been alluding to this video being a thing for a couple of months now, I think. The last time I did a Colourpop haul, I got a couple of items. I got the Dr. Facilier lipstick from the Disney Villains collection, which I'm wearing today. I also got the Just My Look palette, and I've shown both of those things on my channel before. However, the other thing that I got in this order was a build your own palette. I got one of the smaller size palettes, and I said that I was going to be doing a separate video on it because I was going to be doing a lot of work on it and stuff like that. So that work has been taking... well, it didn't actually take that long, but the main thing I've been waiting on is whether I can put a mirror in this palette. Well, at this point, I've just decided that putting in a mirror would make it too bulky and hard to close, and I wanted to keep the palette kind of slim as it was, because it was really easy to use just as it is. So I decided that I may as well just call it finished now, because all of the shadows are in there, all of the customization and decoration I wanted to do is done, and I'm really excited to finally be able to present it to you. So here's a little bit of behind the scenes footage I did of putting this palette together, which will start now. Right, so here's my first progress check. As you can see, I have the templates on like a Word document ready to print out. I have actually done some printing out. This sheet didn't go well, but one of the sheets did go well. So I have the sheet for the mirror to go on. I've got some generic kind of off-white, and I've got the book pages for the border. And here is the empty palette I'm using. I decided to go for a design that I wasn't really going to have any attachment to since I was covering up anyway. And here it is. So the first piece I've actually added on is this, and this is what you see at the bottom. So it's quite symbolic. So if you haven't guessed by that clip, or the title of the video, or the thumbnail, then today I'm going to be showing you my custom Ever After High palette. This is something I've wanted to come up with for quite a long time, is a truly custom themed palette. I have my Sugar Pill Pro palette, and I have those which were singles and I put into a magnetic palette. But that's more of a purpose-fitting palette, whereas this is something where I made it solely based on the theme, and the colours I wanted to create were based on that, rather than having it fit a specific purpose like my Sugar Pill singles. Before I get any further into my palette, I wanted to give a little bit of credit to a YouTuber I watch quite often, who really inspired me to make a themed palette. Not necessarily of the subject, but inspired me to make a themed palette, and that was Georgia Harris. She's made a lot of different themed palettes in her time on YouTube. She's made a Star Wars palette, she's made a Princess Peach palette, I believe, and then also some other non-themed magnetic palettes. So she's done one inspired by the Soft Glam palette, or the Soft Clam palette. And that really inspired me to get into making palettes out of singles. And though in the UK I have less options in terms of places I can get singles, because a lot of the indie brands, shipping policies, taxes and custom fees and all of that, but I still have the option of building a Colourpop palette. So what I did is I took advantage of the offer that Colourpop does, which is reducing the price of single shadows when you buy a bundle, and I made a palette. So I got this yellow design palette. I got the palette that I was least interested in visually, so I could just cover it up quite easily. And I've put on a cover! So I got a couple of assets, the background and the logo and the drawings, and I just kind of put them all together. So we've got a logo on there, we've got the main 4 characters on here, which I feel like is just quite a nice focal point. And then on top, I do have a little spine. This is Ever After High, the Royals and Rebels palette. And then on the back, we have... I wanted to design the back like the back of the boxes, the doll boxes that Ever After High dolls used to come in. So it's like the back of a book, and then you've got just a little bit of a blurb about which singles are representing which character. It names all of the singles. It has them roughly divided into Royals and Rebels, though I will get into how that's a little bit sketchy. I also put in little paper inserts here, so these sides look like book pages. And then I also have this little one here, which is kind of like the one you see on the doll boxes as well. Overall, I wanted this packaging to match the style of the doll boxes, being that the book with the cover torn open and it's all a little bit messy and put together, and I really like that aesthetic. So I really wanted to reflect that style that was from the old Ever After High that I really loved so much. I wasn't able to do all of these because there were some parts that I attempted to paper over and it just made everything too bulky. So I decided to prioritize keeping it more functional rather than having like all sorts of stuff on it and having it be like really hard to close and stuff. So I just felt like keeping that function while having the nice cover and the back cover and everything would be fair. So, open it up, and here is the palette. This is where the mirror would have been, but it's just kind of themed and everything. It's got like the paint splatters and everything. It's themed well enough. And then I've got like a white border because I felt like that just made more sense, but I wasn't able to paper over this or any of this because it just would have made it too hard to close. But I still enjoyed putting on that little spin of adding those things to customize this palette. But obviously we have the singles here, and I'm going to go into each one. I'm going to go into the formula, the names, what I think of them, and I'll also go into which character each shadow represents, because that's the thing I've got in here. Obviously there are a lot of different characters in Ever After High, and each of the shadows in this palette represents one of those characters. So I'm going to swatch these on my hand, and I will show you them one by one. Alrighty, so I have swatched every shade from this palette, and I'm going to talk you through all of them and my thoughts behind each shade and get into this palette a little bit more. So first things first, this palette is split into two sides. You have the Royals on this side, and then you have the Rebels on this side. Now, here's the little asterisk. I would have liked it to be equal numbers on each side, but there's actually 5 Royals represented in here and 7 Rebels represented in here, so it's a little bit uneven. But I wanted to include a colour for Cupid, and I felt like it made sense to have something representing her in this palette, more than it did the other Royals that I had left in mind. But if this was a bigger palette, I'd have lots of more colours representing different characters, but just to keep it more realistic, I decided to go for just this assortment of colours. So I'm just going to go across each row and just kind of do it in that order, because I feel like I'm looking at these swatches and I'm looking at this thing and I'm just getting all confused and not knowing how to present it, so I'm just going to present it in the way I thought of doing it at first. So this first colour is called Backstage, and it is a matte royal blue, and I put in this colour to represent Dexter Charming. So this is a really bright, very intense matte royal blue, and it's the type of pop of colour that I really wanted in this palette, and I just think it works beautifully on the eye. And right next to it I have something that really complements this colour. So on here we have Deja Vu, which is a satin yellow, and I picked this colour to represent Blondie Locks. So this is a really nice satin yellow, but it actually performs quite a bit like a metallic. Technically it's classified as a satin on the Colourpop website, but it feels like a metallic to me. It feels like it has that nice layering, and it's really good. I love this shade so much. It was actually a toss-up between Deja Vu and Rascal, but I felt like Deja Vu had a bit more of a lemon undertone, so I felt like that was the choice to go for, and I feel like I went for the right choice. And then this shade here is Bel Air, which is, I believe it's in the I Think I Love You palette, but this is just a very basic, cool brown, essential transition shade, which I added in there for Cedar Wood, who's actually my favourite character from Ever After High. I just always loved her. But this is just the essential transition that can help any look. I've actually used it on my eyes today. It's not like insanely pigmented, but it's really good if you just want to start off the eye really nicely with something that is not dramatic, but has enough definition to stand out. And I really love that. The next colour we have here is a metallic lavender. This is called Prowlin, and it is representing Kitty Cheshire. So I actually had either Howlin or Prowlin in mind for this shade that would represent Kitty Cheshire, but Howlin was actually out of stock on the day I got the palette, so I got Prowlin instead, and I actually think I made the right call going for Prowlin, because I like that it's adding another metallic into this palette. It's just really a cute shade. A lot of these metallics do skew lighter, and that's something I kind of would have changed if I were to do this palette over, but I still think that this is a beautiful colour. On to the next row. So this next row is the main 4 characters, which are on the cover of the palette. So to represent Bright Beauty, we have Fair Play, which is a bright hot pink matte, and it's just the ideal hot pink matte. I do have similar colours in my Ooh La La palette, but I actually think this one performs better than those. I feel like I just get more vibrance, I just get something a little bit more exciting with this single. And then next to it we have Meteorite, which is a red-orange, and it's a matte, and I did it to represent Apple White. I will say, on the swatch of this, it does come across more orange, and I was kind of hoping for more of a true red, but I feel like Colourpop doesn't really have a colour that's like a true red. It would have been even cooler to have a metallic true red. That would have been so perfect, but I still think this is a really nice colour, and it goes really nicely with this palette. Next one across is, of course, the shade for Raven Queen, and this is Try Me, which is a gorgeous dark purple pressed pigment. And I just think this colour is quintessentially Raven. This is exactly the type of colour that is suited to her, and I mean, the pigmentation is great. It's a great colour. I love it. And then next to it, we have the colour for Madeline Hatter, which is Muscle Beach in matte turquoise. And I will say, this shade I find to be quite sheer. I don't know if that's a pressing issue, but I find that it can be a bit sheer and not as pigmented as the other shadows. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But this is definitely a really nice bright pop to help make something that would have been a little bit more neutral or a little more dark, make that a little bit more vibrant and have that a little bit more of a pop, and I really like that quality to it. So on the last row we have the only rebel on the royal side. We have the colour representing CA Cupid, and this is On the Fence. This is a really beautiful baby pink metallic. It's just this angelic finish, and I just really love it. And there's a similar colour next to it, but this is definitely more of a peach metallic, and this is called Ready or Yacht. And I chose this colour to represent Ashlanella. I'm actually wearing this on my lid today. This lends itself really nicely to neutral looks, because I feel like you can get something a little bit more neutral with this palette, which I've got on my eyes today. And this colour is perfect just as a traditional classic inner corner. If you want something that isn't like a colourful inner corner, this is exactly what this colour can do, and it does it so well. And then obviously next to Ashlyn we have to have a colour for Hunter. So representing Hunter Huntsman is this really nice matte green, dark forest green called Conjure Up. Weirdly enough, on this palette, conjure is spelt in an odd way. It's like conjure instead of like conjure, the spelling that I thought it would be. But I find that this has excellent pigmentation. This is great for intensifying something, but also adding a little bit of an alternative colour. Rather than just going straight into brown or black, it adds something just a little bit more flavourful and something that can really switch up a look, and I like that about this colour a lot. And then the last shade I have is this beautiful deep burgundy brown shade, which of course I made this to represent Cerise Hood, and this is called Cute Alert. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense as a name for Cerise because she's not really cute, so to speak. She's a little bit more grounded, but still, it's the colour that counts. This is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a good deepening shade. So I'm wearing this on my eyes today to deepen up this look, and I just feel like it adds that touch of warmth, but also it goes more on the neutral side. So it's not just warm, but it doesn't go all the way into cool. It goes into a nice medium of neutral. And I really love that. So here are the swatches again. And those are the shades from my custom Ever After High palette. So now that I've showed you the palette and everything that comes inside it, what are my thoughts on not only this palette, but my experience overall with getting a Colourpop Build Your Own palette? So first things first, if you're gonna do a Colourpop Build Your Own palette, take the bundle. Seriously, getting that bundle really helped bring the price down of this palette from something that would have been quite a bit more expensive than any other palette in my collection to kind of a lower range of high-end price. Because this isn't the same price as a regular Colourpop palette. If you were getting like the Good Sport palette, this would not be the same price as getting a custom palette. And when I say this, I mean without all of the decoration and stuff. I literally just printed off things, sellotaped stuff on, glued stuff on. That's all I did with this palette. I didn't do anything else in terms of like interesting architecture or changes. Like I literally just put like paper over it. But if you're gonna buy a Colourpop Build Your Own palette or a custom palette, I would highly recommend taking advantage of that bundle offer. It isn't always on, but I would advise waiting until it is on. At the moment, as I'm filming, I think it is currently on, so take advantage of that. If you take one thing from this video, take the bundle. I also want to talk about my thoughts on the Colourpop single shadows I have. So I feel like my thoughts on these shadows are mostly consistent. I feel like the metallics are really nice. I don't think they necessarily layer on as well as some of the ones in my existing Colourpop palettes, but I think that it's owed to the fact that some of these shades are lighter shades and don't really have the underlying base. I don't know if I'm making any sense with that. But like this shimmer is really just like a peach shimmer. It doesn't really have like a colour base to it as much, but it is building up quite nicely on the eye. I really like how it looks, but it doesn't have that base that some of the shimmers in like the Silver in the Bretman Rock Wet palette and the shimmers from the Good Spot palette and the Salvaje palette. It's not the same as that to me. But I haven't tried the darker shimmers, and I'd hope that they'd be the same as the ones in the existing palettes. But I still really like the finish of these shimmers. And I actually really like the satin as well, Deja Vu. I think that's a great finish, and I don't know why they don't make more satins, because it's a really nice colour. As for the mattes, I'm getting varied results. Some of them are really, really, really pigmented. Some of them are quite sheer. Like, what I got with Meteorite was a ton of pigmentation. And then with Muscle Beach, like, this is a couple of swatches laid over, and it's still quite sheer. And I was a little disappointed. I wanted something a bit more punchier and bright and a bit wild. I mean, if you're gonna have a colour representing Madeline Hatter, it needs to be bright and wild and a bit zany, and it kinda wasn't, so I'm a little bit sad about that, but I don't think it lets down the whole palette. I'm still really happy with the colour combination and how it all plays together and works together. You can create really bold, colourful looks, you can create this kind of neutral look with it. It's got a really nice quality to it, and one shade being a little bit off doesn't sink the rest of it. And I also really appreciated being able to just take this and turn this into a whole themed thing and being able to stick things on top of things and having it be really easy to do that. And I think that's owed down to the fact that the component is so simple. It's literally just a cardboard opening and then you've got the space for the shadows, and then it's stupid even explaining it because it's just that simple, but it owes itself really well to customization. So if anyone else out there, anyone customizes palettes, then there you go. There's an option. But would I consider doing another one of these? I'll probably wait a while because I've got other things on my mind. Even other magnetic palette ideas I have. I've been wanting to do something with Lethal Cosmetics. I've been wanting to do some other different palettes and have other ideas that aren't necessarily the same as this one. But I'm still really happy with how this came out, and I love this little celebration of Ever After High that I have. And it's really special to me, and I'm probably never going to get rid of it because it's, I mean, there's only one of it. Like, for all of the Revolution palettes and ABHs and Urban Decays and whatever, like, those are great palettes, but there's only one custom Ever After High palette, and it's right here. You know, until someone else inevitably makes one and steals my crown. But until that day comes, I am the only owner of the custom Ever After High palette, and I love that. So that was my video about my custom Ever After High palette, and I can't wait to get some more use out of this and even kind of slip it into some tutorial videos. But rest assured, if I do use this palette in the tutorial video, I will leave the shade names of the individual shadows that I've used in those looks, and I'll also link this video for any context that someone might want on this palette when I use it in a future video. But thank you for watching this. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe to my channel below. As usual, I am Ari the Network on Twitter and Ari the Net on Instagram, so check me out if you want to see more of me. And finally, thank you for spending time with me today. I love you for watching. Bye!